Now, it's no secret why Deus Ex Human Revolution ended up on my top 15 most surprising games of 2011. But after plunking more than 30 hours into this title, I can now explain to you in greater detail why playing this game is so great from personal first-hand experience. But before we begin, I think a little change in style is in order. Oh, sick, son! Well, now that that's taken care of, I present to you the top 15 reasons why Deus Ex Human Revolution is awesome. Now, coming in at reason number 15 is the augmentations. Unlike in previous Deus Ex games, nanotechnology has been replaced by biomechanical augmentations, which act as special abilities. However, it is only when the player has obtained what are called praxis points that augmentations can be unlocked, installed in slots in various parts of the body. Now, with over 50 augmentations available, you might think that a lot of these upgrades would come off as gimmicky, but in fact, many of them can drastically affect how you play the game. The wall-penetrating imager, for example, allows you to see through walls, warning you of oncoming enemies. Another example is the Move Heavy Objects augmentation, which allows you, like it says, to move heavy objects like dumpsters and vending machines, oftentimes uncovering hidden areas like vents to climb into. In Deus Ex, all levels are designed in such a way that they allow you to take full advantage of how you approach gameplay, enough to warrant multiple playthroughs. Coming in at reason number 14 is the branching styles of gameplay. When Deus Ex premiered at E3 2010, it lauded over its branching styles of gameplay, which allowed your character to take a stealth approach, a full-on shooting approach, or an approach that involved hacking various devices throughout any given level. But when you sit down and play this game for a few hours, you quickly realize that completing a level requires a combination of all three. Now, I personally prefer a stealthy approach. However, when an enemy overhears your footsteps or you accidentally trip an alarm, the gameplay turns from calm to frantic and quickly becomes a very different game with half a dozen guards hunting you down. I'll admit, when I first saw the E3 demo of this game, I was extremely skeptical that this branching style of gameplay would live up to expectations. But after having played it from start to finish, I can honestly say that this game is the real deal. Players aren't pigeonholed into one approach as levels are extremely open-ended, enough such that gameplay never feels restrictive. I hope other developers take note of these design choices in future games, but quite honestly, it's so refreshing to see something new and innovative being done when it comes to this style of gameplay. Now, coming in at reason number 13 is the branching dialogue sections of Deus Ex. At several points in the game, you'll be asked a number of questions which feature up to 3 answers depending on how you wish to answer a particular question, similar to Mass Effect. However, unlike Mass Effect, these appear less frequent. In one section early on, I was required to talk down a terrorist and save a hostage at gunpoint. So for fun, I decided to load the game and try several different answers to see how each scenario would play out. One outcome had me ending up killing the suspect. Another one had me taking the suspect into custody, while the other one ended with the terrorist killing the hostage. Now, fortunately, I activated the Social Enhancer augmentation early on in the game, which allowed me to analyze a person's responses and choose the correct answer accordingly. Nevertheless, it's clear that a lot of time and effort was put into this game mechanic, adding to its already stellar writing and voice acting. Now, coming in at reason number 12 is the fact that Deus Ex Human Revolution is the continuation of the Deus Ex franchise, a prequel to be more precise. Humanity is on the cusp of the next stage of evolution, as debate rages on in government as well as in the streets. You play Adam Jensen in the year 2027. After an attack on Seraph Industries leaves you mortally wounded, you're soon brought back to life through the use of biomedical augmentations. After attempting to uncover the perpetrators behind the attack, you quickly become embroiled in the global politics of the human enhancement movement. Now, having never played the original Deus Ex games myself, the game does a fantastic job of providing backstory to the other 2 games in the series, but really, it's also just a fantastic game in its own right, doing justice to its predecessors both in terms of story as well as gameplay. Now, coming in at reason number 11 is showing, not telling. One of the things Deus Ex does exceptionally well is that it doesn't explain every little detail with large chunks of exposition. While many games info-dump the player with large amounts of information, Deus Ex opts for a show-don't-tell approach to explain the larger world outside the main storyline. How does it do it? Through emails, ebooks, newspapers, pocket secretaries, and yes, even televisions, many of which contain valuable information to use to your advantage. Oftentimes, computer terminals and pocket secretaries contain login passwords and other pertinent information, preventing you from having to hack alarms, computers, or keypads manually in order to have access to them. Similarly, having information on other people can be used to turn the tables in various dialogue segments of the game. It's also useful because players can choose whether or not to read these documents at all. But for those that do, it just goes to show you the amount of care and detail the developers at Eidos Montreal have put into this game. Now, coming in at reason number 10 is the art direction. Again, another great way that Deus Ex uses what's around them to show and not tell. One of the first things you quickly notice right off the bat with Deus Ex is that the color palette is extremely limited. Everything is extremely dark, and the colors gray, black, and a monochromatic gold more than dominate the landscape. Once more, the architecture and fashion are in the style of the Italian Renaissance, purposely done so to reflect a new age in human progress, in this case, augmentations. Now, it should be also noted that after doing some research, I realized that everyone in the game that's for human augmentation dresses in this neo-Renaissance style of clothing, while those that oppose it dress in slightly more modern clothes than we wear today. It's subtle, but it just goes to show you the amount of detail that the developers have put into this game. Now, coming in at reason number 9 is the music. Now, the music for the game was composed by Michael McCann, probably best known for his work on Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Double Agent. Now, the music in Deus Ex is largely used during cinematic cutscenes, but when it's played during gameplay, it's very subtle, almost unnoticeable, while at the same time adding to the game's dark, suspenseful tone. The music also does a great job of combining synthesized electronic music with sounds produced by classical instruments and vocals. Ironically, this adds another layer of depth to the art direction because it indirectly speaks to the themes of the technological intermingling with the human. In any case, the soundtrack on its own is fantastic, so if you have a few minutes, do yourself a favor and go check it out. Now, coming in at reason number 8 is the enemy AI. Now, a large part of Deus Ex Human Revolution involves sneaking around using your environment to the best of your advantage, but occasionally you're going to have to take enemies down in order to proceed forward. And these enemies aren't dumb. If they see something not right, an open door, the sound of footsteps, a newly discovered body of a fallen comrade, they'll go quickly into caution mode and do a sweep of the entire area to find you. Now, you're also required to track enemy movements in order to successfully sneak around any given area. And if you think these guards simply walk back and forth in a predetermined path, well, you're partially right. But more often than not, they'll walk forward while constantly checking over their shoulders, and in some cases turn their bodies completely around while walking down a guided path. Nevertheless, it's these little tweaks which add to the game's realism and are a welcome addition to the new Deus Ex game. Now, coming in at reason number 7 is exploration. Now, this reason is kind of reaching, and to be honest, I kind of ran out of reasons when coming up with this list, but to be honest, more often than not, this game rewards you for exploring, whether it's finding a new pathway you didn't know was there before, or discovering a passcode to a nearby device so you don't have to hack it. What's great about Deus Ex is that the levels are open enough that they allow you to explore accordingly. And even after hours of gameplay, Deus Ex still manages to surprise you, even at the most unexpected times. Now, coming in at reason number 6 is cyberpunk. Now, I've always been a huge fan of the cyberpunk genre. For those that don't know what cyberpunk is, think The Matrix or Ghost in the Shell. Cyberpunk takes place in gritty, dark, and often unforgiving futures where corporations have power over governments, and the line between the human and the technological have been severely blurred. Now, what Deus Ex does extremely well is that it asks some very hard-hitting questions about what it means to be human. It deals with the ethics of transhumanism and carries an overarching message of humanity's reach exceeding its grasp. While many see this new era of technological enhancements as progress, others are reluctant to move forward, often reacting against it. In any case, if you're a fan of cyberpunk or want to get a better understanding of the genre, then Deus Ex is certainly a good place to start. Now, coming in at reason number 5 is the Missing Link downloadable content. Now, the Missing Link DLC adds roughly 5 hours of gameplay and occurs during the 3-day period when Adam is aboard the cargo ship from Hang Sha to Singapore. In the game, Adam is captured and must escape the freighter. The only problem is, all of his augmentations have been disabled. In the game, Adam is captured and must escape the freighter. The only problem is, all of his augmentations have been disabled. Now, the DLC is available for PC, Xbox 360, and the PS3, so if you want to purchase this additional content, it'll cost you 1,200 Microsoft points, or free for download on the PSN if you already have the game. Now, coming in at reason number 4 is the side missions peppered throughout Deus Ex. Now, while the game has a main storyline, Deus Ex offers more than enough side missions to play at your own leisure. Some missions become available for you over the course of the main storyline, while others require you to seek them out first before they become accessible. One mission in China had me recovering an autopsy of a botched investigation because the deceased was once roommates with a character friend named Malik. In another instance, I was investigating the mystery behind my ex-girlfriend's death on behalf of her mother. Now, what's great about these side missions is that they never feel tacked on, like they're just there as filler to plump up the game's playtime, but in fact provide outstanding character development and backstory for many of the game's minor characters. Now, coming in at reason number 3 is the cover system. Now, you might laugh at this reason for liking a video game, but honestly, Deus Ex Human Revolution has one of the best cover systems I've seen in a video game. Players hug the walls by holding down the left trigger button, and the game quickly shifts into third person. From here, players can either hug around walls by holding down the A button, if you're playing with the Xbox 360 of course, or flip from one obstacle to the next by pressing the A button. The game also gives the player the option to blind fire around walls, or to aim around them with greater accuracy with their body partially revealed. As avoiding detection plays a large part in this game, it's clear that a lot of time and effort was put into this seemingly throwaway game mechanic. Now, coming in at reason number 2 is that Deus Ex is a mashup of genres. Now, there's no doubt all games borrow elements and influences from other games, but Deus Ex uses them to such great effect that it actually makes them feel new and interesting. First of all, you'll quickly notice that your inventory box for your items uses a grid system similar to Resident Evil 4. You'll also notice that many of the stealth elements of the game borrow heavily from those found in Metal Gear Solid 4, such as the cover system and the ability to hide bodies once they're unconscious. The game also contains an XP system that's reminiscent to many RPGs that unlocks your choice of augmentations as you progress through the game. And quite honestly, the first-person shooting is some of the best I've ever seen. Now, if any one of these aspects were done poorly, I'd be a lot less forgiving when it comes to Deus Ex borrowing these mechanics from other games. But thankfully, each aspect is tweaked just enough to make this game feel fresh and original. Now, coming in at reason number 1 is the TYPHOON. Now, while I don't want to reveal too much about the augmentations in this review, I can't not mention the TYPHOON weapon used within Deus Ex. Basically, if you ever find yourself surrounded by enemies, the TYPHOON releases several ball-like devices which explode on impact all around you, clearing the path of enemies quickly and effectively. By far, this is the most badass weapon in the game, and never gets old even after you've used it 1,000 times over. Thanks for watching. As always, feel free to rate, comment, or subscribe to my channel. That being said, I am the Millennium Gamer, signing off.